time when we first came on the air with reports of this quake, and Southern California really bracing for aftershocks right now after that magnitude 7.2 earthquake rattled northern Mexico. Let's examine the science of the quake and what residents of California and Mexico can expect in the coming days. And for that, we turn to Bill Nye. You know him as a science guy, and he joins us from Los Angeles. Hey, listen, good to talk to you. You were, hanging out with a friend in a restaurant, and then what?
Well, the light fixture started to shake, and I was moving across the bench of a restaurant booth, and everything was moving. I've been through a few earthquakes. I've not really had to suffer. I've not really had been traumatized by an earthquake. I've been driving, and you miss them. But the thing is, we're in Southern California. We're 300 nautical miles from the epicenter of this quake. But a magnitude 7 on any earthquake scale is a doggone big thing. I mean, it might have a 50th of the energy that the Chilean earthquake had, but it's a tremendous amount of energy. And if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, as you saw those buildings, it's traumatic.
So you're the science guy, and you said you didn't have to suffer through an earthquake, but this one, I would imagine it caught you off guard. And what did you do? How did you respond? And the people around you as well.
Oh, let me say, I've been through enough of them that you can tell a small one.
And you knew this was a big one?
I've been through one big one. Well, we were pretty far away, see. We were 300 miles away. But I've been through a big one, and I got under the table, and so did my, we were watching a basketball game, so did my buddy, my neighbor. We got under tables. But I've never lost everything. I've never had my car crushed. I've never had a loved one. I've never been through that sort of horrible thing that can happen with earthquakes.
Hey, Bill,
but here's what's going on now. Yeah,
hey, before you get to that, let me ask you this, and then you can go into what you want to talk about. I found it interesting that one of the seismologists at Caltech, when they came out and they had a press conference not long ago, they said that within the next few days, there's a strong likelihood of possibly a magnitude 6 either quake or a triggered event to happen after this. That's pretty serious.
That sounds reasonable, yeah. Well, magnitude 6 is enough to really shake things up. In buildings that aren't suited, I'll give you an example. A cinder block wall that's not properly reinforced, doesn't have seismic reinforcement running vertically, it could really be damaged. And if you're near a cinder block wall in a magnitude 6 earthquake, you're in trouble. You know, if you're a dog or a kid, you're really in bad shape. Yeah, this is sort of a picture of that where I was sitting in Los Angeles. The thing is that because
we saw some of the restaurant, another restaurant as well. I'm sorry to cut you off. Continue, please.
No, that's great. The other thing that I'll say, though, because your reporting, and by your, I mean the media, is so thorough now, that we have cell phones all over the world, even in what used to be remote places or places that you wouldn't hear from. We are now talking about and seeing footage of, or inchage or centimeterage of earthquakes that we didn't used to hear about so quickly. There are about 1,000 very big earthquakes around the world every year. And as I always like to say, so if you're a psychic, I hope you can predict an earthquake.
There's going to be an earthquake.
There's three a day. But now we're being able to see them. Yeah.
Maybe you're going to explain my next question. Let's see. So the seismologist says she said there is a 5% when you have the triggered events and the aftershocks. There's a 5% chance that the next one will be larger than the one that preceded it, and that the reason we have a lot of earthquakes, she said, is because we have a lot of earthquakes. Once you start having them, they trigger others. So you sort of talked about this before. But why are we seeing, can we explain it? Are the tectonic plates doing something they didn't do before? Is there some energy down there that we don't know about? Or is it just that we are better equipped at sort of detecting them and reporting them?
We're better equipped for reporting, and I'm talking about you. Everybody has a cell phone. The social networks are remarkable. You hear about them so quickly. You got that footage from somebody's cell phone camera immediately. But not only that, she's absolutely right. As soon as the rifts start to shift, they keep shifting. And indeed, the energy from one can trigger another. And it's very, if I may, intuitive. Once it slips a little, it keeps slipping for a while. And what's a while? A day, a week, less than a month, but more than a few hours. And so, yes, after you get one earthquake, apparently, the way the Earth is set up, you get a few more over the subsequent days. I've been in Seattle when there was the big one in 2002. It's a big earthquake, and then there were aftershocks for many days after that. Mount St. Helens, Washington, earthquakes after volcanoes. Hawaii, earthquakes every time there's a volcano. But in California, there's a pretty good-sized fault people make jokes about, but it runs through California and into Mexico, and that's the one that's slipping. And it's certainly going to slip again, if not tomorrow, if not in the next week, soon enough. But you know what's going on now? People are talking about using the motion detectors, the accelerometers, in everybody's laptop. And it'd be very noisy. You know, you pick up a laptop, you drop it. Okay, you have to drop those data out. You have to eliminate those data. But if you have enough coarse or not very sensitive data, if you have many, many of those data, then you can sort out the waves. So it could be possible that in the next few years, let's say 15 years, after an earthquake occurs in a place that's very well understood, there'd be time to warn people a few hundred miles away, a few hundred kilometers away. It's possible. It's quite an intriguing idea.
That is intriguing. That's why you're Bill Nye, the science guy. And we appreciate it. People are already writing about you, saying Bill Nye, the science guy, on CNN talking to London. Thank you, Bill Nye. Really appreciate it. Go enjoy the cocktail you were going to have before the earthquake started. And
I got to get ready. I'm going to Washington, D.C. to do an educational event at the Library of Congress.
All right.
Hope to see you there. And then we're going to be talking about planetary science with NASA on Wednesday. It's going to be a big week.
You're such a science nerd. Thank you. But fair warning.
Hope all is well.
Fair warning. Bill Nye said, brace yourselves if you're in that area, because again, we could have another.
Carry earthquake kits in your car. It's very likely you'll be driving when there's an earthquake. Be ready.
Thank you, sir. You can't get him to stop talking about this. Thank you, Bill Nye. Listen, we have other breaking news as well here to report weather-wise, tornado warnings, and also the aftershocks of this quake that happened out in California and Mexico. We're back in moments. Don't go away, and thank you for your comments. I'm reading them now.